And we are back live from PlayStation's E3 booth. I'm joined by Bernd Diemer. He's the game director on Dead Island 2, a distinctly different take on the popular franchise. So welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
So you guys, first of all, I think left a few jaws on the floor the other night at the PlayStation E3 press conference. That was one hell of a reveal trailer. Very, very cool. Tell me a little bit about just the overall premise for Dead Island 2.
First, you want to hear a funny story about the trailer?
I would love to.
You know, I think a couple of months ago when we started talking to you guys about, hey, can we do something exclusive together? And then this fantastic deal happened that we have exclusive content on PlayStation. And then we were so afraid that the trailer would leak before. Because you guys basically said, we're going to kill you all. If the trailer leaks, the deal is off, we're going to kill you. You'll never work in the industry again. Well, not really, but that's what it felt like. So the trailer only lived on one computer, which wasn't even connected to the internet.
Wow.
And if you wanted to see it, you had to travel from Berlin to Munich, look at it on the guy's PC who was editing it, and then the guy came back to Berlin, to our studio, and narrated the trailer to the rest of the team. How does it look? Yeah. Oh, it has this scene, it looks like this, and there's this Californian dude. So actually, the final cut, for the first time, we saw it here.
Really?
Yes.
That's a Black Ops level security for what looks to be a great game here, coming to PS4. So the premise is a little bit different than what we've seen in the prior games in the series. It's still first person, but it's set in the state of California. Give me a little bit of a backstory.
Indeed. So when we started thinking about Dead Island, we thought, how can we make that, bigger and more impressive and more iconic? And then, being Europeans, we thought, so what's the most iconic location on this planet? And it's California, of course. It's beautiful, the sun always shines, everybody's beautiful, everybody's rich, and so not true, but still. And so we went for California because we thought, on one hand, it's a location that everybody knows on this planet. And it's also very beautiful. And that fit in with our vision statement of paradise meets hell. So the most paradisic location on the planet, California, plus our zombies.
Yes, and it's been quarantined off, so there's the island part. That's my understanding. And
it's a bit reaching, but that's our island.
Yeah, so it's still set in the fiction of the Dead Island, the Dead Island fiction, but it's a different timeline. And I think what's interesting about this game is you're actually going to have I've heard it described as the world's smallest MMO. You're going to have multiple players in sort of a co-op or competitive type of scenario. So tell me a little bit about that mechanic and how that's going to work.
Yeah, the world's smallest MMO is how we started explaining it internally to the team when people asked about it. So how does it work? And what's behind it is that we increased the player numbers to 8 from 4 in the original game. And then we said we want this to be the easiest way into multiplayer ever. And the inspiration actually, of all places, came from me playing Journey. Because when I started playing Journey, I didn't, like many people, I didn't realize that the other people in the game were actually other players. And the elegance and the brilliance of that stuck with me. And then we thought, sounds a little bit crazy, but we want to do that with zombies. So we have this seamless multiplayer where if you're not opting out, you can play alone, but if you're not specifically opting out, you're always playing with other people. So the world will be populated by 7 other players who just appear in your world and play with you in this beautiful setting.
So I guess it's sort of up to those players to decide whether they work together or maybe don't work together.
The default is that you work together, but there are specific zones in the game world where there's some valuable thing, treasure chest, if you will. And there's a competitive element. You don't have to, but you have the freedom to compete with others.
So it's still a first-person game, right?
Yes,
tell me a little bit about
so.
how combat's going to work in Dead Island 2.
Very well and very smoothly.
Oh, nice. Well, that's always a good thing.
Yeah. We're showing, unfortunately only behind closed doors, we're showing our combat prototype, which is a level that we built over a year ago. It's kind of, think of it as the game in a nutshell. And that's where we tested all our features, all our weapons, all our combat mechanics. And one thing that we wanted to go for is that the combat is much more smoothly. So it's, I would call it contextual combos. So for example, you can kick a zombie in the knees, which means he turns around, which gives you the opportunity to do a backstab. And then on to the next zombie. So it's a very fluid system.
Oh, fascinating. So, given that it's set in the state of California,
Yeah.
are we going to see sort of a San Francisco environment, an LA environment? I mean, how far do you take it? Does it span sort of virtually the whole state?
Not quite.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Yes.
It's a big state.
It's the Hollywood hero version of California. So the LA area stretches roughly from the Hollywood sign to Venice Beach, with kind of everything in between. The second area we're talking about already is San Francisco, which is roughly the Bay Area. And there's a third one, which we're not revealing yet.
Outstanding.
Yes.
So what is the player's goal in all this? Obviously to survive what is a very bad situation, but is there a story to this, or is there a progression?
There is a progression and a story, of course, like a personal motivation for you. But the thing is, the players, they are heroes. And the cool thing about it is that before the apocalypse happened, there were, average Joes, like people working in jobs, nothing special, nothing to write home about. And then these zombies came to California, and all of a sudden they became special because they're immune. They can get bitten by zombies and they don't die. And so they decided to stay. They don't want to leave. They don't want to get out. They're right where they want to be. So what we did is we basically tried to take what players actually want. As a player, you want to be the hero, right? You want to do great things in games, and we embrace that, and that is actually central to our narrative, that you're the hero. You're like cowboys, riding into town, killing the bad guys, you get the girl, and ride into the sunset.
That's great. So I wanted to one more question for you. Obviously, you're with Jaeger,
yes,
which is it's a new developer on the series. Tell me a little bit about just quickly your history as a studio and what attracted you to Dead Island 2.
Jaeger is a German studio based in Berlin. Has been around actually quite some time. This summer we're celebrating our 15th birthday. And the last game we shipped was Spec Ops: The Line.
Great game, absolutely
thank
great
you.
game. Yeah.
Thank you. And so then afterwards we thought now for something completely different.
Are you, Spec Ops: The Line was such a memorable game for me. Are you going to take a sort of, it was so subversive, it was a very subversive game. Are you going to take some of that subversive attitude here for Dead Island 2?
Of course we will. And I think one thing that Jaeger brings to the game is that we're very serious about details. Like, for example, 2 weeks ago we had a discussion almost the whole day about the diversity of our zombies. Because we realized we have to make sure that they represent the average mix of ethnicity and gender that is represented in California. And one guy in our team actually researched that, with percentages and everything. So then we changed our zombie system to represent that. And that's kind of the thing we do. And we have a cat.
Oh, very nice.
We're I believe the first game that actually did motion capture with a cat.
Motion capture with a cat?
Yes.
Feline fidelity.
Exactly.
For Dead Island 2.
Only on PlayStation 4. Otherwise it wouldn't have been possible.
And I want to quickly note, there is an exclusive beta coming to PS4.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll learn a little bit more about that as time goes on, but...
Yes, closer to PAX and Gamescom, we will talk about the exciting beta plans.
PlayStation